All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are all doing pretty well. And myself and Alex are actually just chatting here, and we said, you know what, now is as good a time as any to record a podcast for you so you can know exactly how things are going in our world. Now, Alex, I was speaking to you yesterday, and you were saying basically you were very busy, like always.
Yeah, I feel like I've got about 60
Quote
million
unquote,
going
if
on.
people knew all the stuff I'm doing in my life.
Was that my exact wording?
Well, not last
Probably
night, but
was.
about 2 weeks ago it was, yeah.
Probably was.
Yeah.
Probably was. I have like so many different things going on. Like I've actually heard people say before, like, I wake up and I have to focus on, all I do is this one thing. It's all I do every day. And I I think I would lose my mind if that was me. Like I have to have, not like in a sporadic way or like um, in something that would like negatively impact what I'm doing and hurt me like making progress towards things. But I feel like I have to have multiple different projects going on at the same time. So like I can work on one project and then switch my focus to another one. I
Mhm.
just feel like burn out too fast, just working completely on one thing.
It's funny you say that because some people say that when you do that, it's actually a bad thing swapping between projects. Do you agree with that?
I agree why people say it, because I think they say that. I mean, some people think that if you have like ten tasks going on at the same time, let's for example, say if you're working on 10 things and you're trying to move the ball forward or nudge the progress forward on each one of those 10 things, then in theory, you're going to make more progress if you just had one thing going on because you could just keep nudging that one thing forward, 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 and you would make significantly more progress in that thing than trying to push 10
Yep.
things forward, right? I think
Yep.
that's the logic where it comes from. For me, though, I feel like just the way my brain works, I feel I have to have a couple of things going on that I can switch tasks to because, like, say for example, we're working on the Amazon business
Mhm.
or the other products we've got going on. If I start to get burnt out by that, or like I get brain fog and just need a break, sometimes I don't need to take a break completely. I can just switch tasks away from that thing, and then I can regenerate my energy that way. Um, I also think people say you shouldn't be focused on different tasks because the transition time between one task and another is not just like an instant switch. So people think that you go from one task, then work on another task. It's like an instant. Oh, it's fine, but it probably takes you a good 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes to get into
Yep.
like a focused zone.
Yep.
So like I've been watching a lot of content recently on people who are very, very strong on these whole 4 hour work days. And working 4 hours a day may sound a lot like a short day for some people, but I can almost guarantee nobody has the brain capacity to work more than 4 hours of actual deep, hard, like focused work every day.
Yeah.
Like
Pretty intense.
yeah, I mean, you just can't do it. Like people generally do, there's a lot of people that do work 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, but I can guarantee it's not this deep focused work that creates the best results. Whereas if you had, a time block of half an hour and you did 8 of these little blocks throughout the day, which would add up to 4 hours of deep work, you would get more done doing that than just the surface level work for 12, 14 hours a day or whatever. So
It's
yeah.
fun. It's funny, right, man? There's two things I want to say, and just want to add to that. I was listening to something this morning that it was talking about like this something about contradictions. So basically, like everyone in life is nearly always looking for like, is this good or bad? Should I be doing this? Yes, no. Like it making things very black and white. And do you know what? Maybe things aren't black and white. Maybe there's a blur in the middle. So a lot of people are saying that, you know, you should only be doing one thing. But why is that? Did it suit someone? Did it suit society back in the day that you were only doing one thing? That was your job. You were on the assembly line or you were in the factory. Whereas now in this modern world, like people can be doing a lot of things. And I actually think it's part of my problem for a long time. And like, being completely honest here and transparent, for a long time I believed that I couldn't give myself permission to do other things because that was quote unquote wrong. That was not the right thing to do. So therefore
Mm,
I need to do this. And then you're sitting there trying to do it, and it's like, nothing's happening. Like, why
mm,
why isn't this like genius just coming to me now and I'm just gonna figure it all out, you know? Um So 100%. It's actually funny. I recorded a video as well, and I'm actually going to put this up on the TikTok, right? But I recorded a video for TikTok. It was yesterday, the day before, and I was talking about like, you know, basically figuring out like the exact kind of like avatar me and you were after, right? Because like it's all about building brands, it's all about helping people launch products, but at the same time, it's not like one's right and one's wrong. We just need to figure it out as we go along, and maybe it's giving ourselves permission to do that. So yeah, I think it's quite interesting. So I think yeah, I believe one should be able to have multiple things going on. I think that's important. I think there's an energy off that. It's kind of like a buzz. Like the very man that does that extremely well, Gary Vaynerchuk, it's nearly like it's a badge of honor. It's like, I've got all this going on, behind him. If you ever watch his stuff, do you?
Yeah. I used to watch a lot of his stuff. Don't watch a lot of his stuff now just because I just don't feel drawn to watch it. I just don't. I've kind of like I move around with the people I consume content from, and now there seems to be a handful of people I consume content from, which is more relevant to where I'm at right now. And then obviously, then I feel maybe in the future that will merge into someone else. Like I'll become aware of something else, and
or you might swap back to Gary again.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do like coming back to topics and stuff like that. That's quite interesting. I actually was chatting with a friend actually recently about this, and a friend came around to my house asking for some help because he was not happy in his current job, and he was looking for a way out. And he was basically asking me for help, as in, I think he must have seen my lifestyle maybe, and was just asking, how are you making your money, what you're doing. He seemed to think I had this like look of I could literally just do what I wanted kind of thing, which is kind of like how I've built everything now. And I can
that is the vibe you give off within reason.
But I mean, it's not been an overnight thing though. That's literally been like 11 years in the process of just trying to make it happen. And I still feel I'm only just getting started. I still feel like there's about another 100 gears I've not even discovered yet. But if I look back 5-10 years, like I'm actually living the life I wanted 5-10 years ago. I can wake up in the morning, work on what I want in between the hours I'm awake and sleep, and that's that. But yeah, he was asking for some help, and I gave him some book recommendations, but I was very skeptical as to what to tell him, because I could talk about this sort of stuff for days on end with no breaks. I love talking about this stuff. But so then I was thinking, well, if I start recommending this guy, all these books, all these resources of what I would do, it's just going to overwhelm him. So I just gave him one book recommendation, which is The 4-Hour Workweek, which is the book that changed my perspective on stuff and really helped me when I was first moving into this online world. And it's funny now, I go back to just a select few books and refer back to, you're saying about coming back to Gary V's content.
Mm-hmm.
I'll reread chapters of the 4-Hour Workweek, which is a book I've read so many times, rather than going to go and try and find new books all the time. I will just go and try and reread chapters from a book I've already read. Like that. What's that saying that Bruce Lee had? Fear not a man who can practice 1,000 kicks one time each, but fear the man who can practice or execute one kick 1,000 times, something like that. It's the same concept.
Well, what I found, to be honest with you, I wouldn't drink a lot or anything like that. And literally, I think for a while, my hobby was nearly buying books. So I'm oh, that's a good book, I'll buy it. And sometimes I'd buy it, but I wouldn't actually really read it. But then sometimes I'd be like, there's something in that book I want to just have a quick look at. And I just look at the chapter on. So I have a lot of books behind me, right? I haven't read them all, but there's a few of them I have read, and there's a few of them I go back to a little bit more regularly than others, right? So you're mentioning the 4-Hour Workweek. Is what particular chapter, what chapter was it, or do you remember? Do you recall?
Yeah, so one chapter I was chatting to my friend about was a chapter towards the start of the book. The book's almost like a reference. So a lot of the concepts and principles in that book are timeless, but he talks about things before AI was even a thing and all this technology is now available. But towards the start of the book, there's about 4 chapters where they talk a lot about, how to liberate yourself from a 9-to-5 job and into something more meaningful. And the chapter that I really do like referring to called fear setting, or creating I guess another way to think about it is to create yourself an anti-vision. So everyone when they want to create and change their life, and they create themselves a vision of like, I want my life to look like this, and they just list all the positive things that they want. But then they never look at all the negative things they want to avoid or the things that just don't like. So Tim Ferriss in this book had a concept called fear setting, and essentially it's what you do. You list out essentially all the things that you don't want, and that kind of like switches your mind to a different gear in moving you towards what you do want. So I think one of the stories in the book, if you have a bad job and you're doing something you absolutely hate, it's not necessarily a bad thing or like a negative thing, because you doing that thing you're not enjoying, this job, is literally just solidifying what you don't want in this future you or this future life. And I've been through, if I look back now, I've been through this so many times, looking at jobs I absolutely hated. And that's why I'm no longer a joiner, or don't work in the building trade anymore, or don't surround myself with certain types of people, because in the past they've negatively impacted me or pulled me down or whatever. That's what it's felt like. So
I think it's really cool that you're aware of that, because a lot of people aren't aware of it. I actually, over the last little while, I've been doing one thing, which is very much looking at like false beliefs that I have, but I'd write down the false beliefs that I have, like literally, like they are false. I know they're false, but I believe this internally. And then I actually just I write the opposite. So in order for that not to be true, this is the truth, the opposite of that. You know what I mean? And then I focus on the opposites, which is what you want your life to be. And I've read a book as well. And again, I think it's called Psycho Cybernetics. And it talks about basically that we are goal setting machines. Like literally we strive for something. It's like, Alex, case in point, you bought a new car recently. You didn't really pass them cheat of them until I started talking about them to you. And now suddenly you were seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally. But it's like your mind just sees them.
Yeah. 100%.
I even like know the different models now. You can spot it like from a distance. You wouldn't even thought about that. But it's just literally because we look out for and we search for things to reinforce our beliefs that we believe. So if some people, you can put two people in the same situation, and they both have a completely different perspective. There's a book there as well. It's like, we're talking a lot about books. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. It's about a man that was in one of the camps during World War II, Auschwitz and the likes. And basically, he came away with a positive experience, or he's able to see a positive experience when he was there. Whereas anyone he reckoned that gave up and didn't believe in the future and the positivity, that he found little bits of positivity, be it the bird outside or whatever, he says they didn't make it. And literally, it's all about what you look for and what you train your mind to look for. I think that's so important. And I think for anyone getting started in this game, or getting started in anything, it's about what you look for. So really try and see the little positives, but it's not like all wishy-washy. Oh, like it's all is good. It's not that. It's just being aware. And once you're aware, you can start taking actions.
Yeah.
Which I think
100%.
is which is pretty neat. So we'll leave it there.
Yeah, we can leave it there, not a problem.
Talk soon, folks.